Welcome, my name is Rachel Amber. I'm the creator and founder of Cycles Journal, and today I'm going to show you how to use Cycles Journal. I'm using the 2025 edition right now, but this should apply to any future edition since we have reached a stage of consistency in the journals as of 2 years ago, and the structure will stay the same. There just might be little additions and improvements here and there. Okay, so when you open your Cycles Journal, you'll see some intro pages that you may or may not have seen before, as well as table of contents with some new content each year, but also some sustaining baseline things, which I'll let you read on your own time. And today I'll mostly be going over this in a video form because I know this can be a lot. And so yeah, how to use the journal. And we'll walk you through the three aspects, which are the monthly tracking pages, the daily journaling spaces, and the cycle check-ins. So those are kind of the three spaces that you might visit each day as you check in. And some new additional features this year, which I'll explain as we go. But yeah, those are the intro pages. And then this, I want to show you how to adhere because we had some requests for the monthly pages, which I'll go over first, to have some other options here for tracking. I leave blank spaces. So starting with the first section, which is a zoomed out monthly or moonthly overview. I call it that because it starts on the new moon of each month, and it doesn't always line up with the Gregorian calendar days of the week and month as we're used to, but they're there for reference. So we'll see here the new moon of December 2024 when this journal starts. I always start it a few days before the new year, which this is the 2025 journal, which starts on Wednesday, the 1st of January. And so that's the first day I'll be able to track here. And what you do simply is, let me zoom in a little here for you. You go down the days column. So on this day, the 30th, I'll check in with all these points and fill in the bubble based on the intensity or presence of each part. So for example, if I'm tracking a menstrual cycle, I will add the day number there, starting from the bleed day, working up. If you don't have a menstrual cycle or an inconsistent cycle, just leave that blank, or you can mark that as day 1 and then use the moon cycle as your reference point to track through. So that would be day 1 if you're using the moon cycle as a reference, or if you have your own menstrual cycle, then use that number. And then we'll go down basal body temperature if you track for fertility awareness, cervical mucus, or any fluids that you may be experiencing can go here. Yeah, and then just go through the physical symptoms and experiences. I'd fill it in fully if I'm having like a lot of cramps that day, or if I'm having a little bit, I'd fill it in partially. If I'm not having any, I leave it blank. And there's blank spaces for you to add any other like recurring physical experiences that you want to keep track of. And then we go down to the emotional section, and same thing, just with different emotions and space for you to add your own. And of course you could always white out or cross out any of these if you want to replace them, but I'm also going to show you how to use this in a second if you want to do a completely different set of tracking aspects. And then this is the habitual section if you want to track habits and just other things that happen on a daily or weekly basis. And if I leave these here as they are because this is the general like baseline, and if I leave it blank, that's a lot to figure out where to start with. And so I like having this, and it's based on a lot of feedback for what most people want to track in this journal, menstrual cycle or not. The only menstrual cycle specific aspects are up here, and you can skip those easily or replace them. But if you want a completely different list of things that you're tracking for any reason, that's why I included these this year, and I'm going to show you how to install those in a second. But just to finish going over how to use this page, basically that's the daily habit of checking in, and then do that each day throughout the month. If you miss a day, and I want to say this a million times with a megaphone, if you miss a day or 2 or 3 or 10, it's okay. This is about practicing presence and accepting yourself where you're at, however you are, not perfection. And so you may see gaps in this overview when you go back to reference it, and that is just a sign that you needed space. You can always go back and fill in what you remember, but please, please be gentle with yourself through this. yes, the goal is to show up as much as we can, but when we can't, it's okay. And we can use it for other things. And on that note, yeah, there's also a space for notes here and the tracking key. And yeah, these are the features that you can use to reference as well and compare. And so this will come in handy, you know, over time you'll see patterns emerge and shifts as you track each month and start to notice. And then in the future, it serves as a record to return to and look back on. Like say you visit your doctor, you can reference how long you've been experiencing that. Okay, I'm gonna pause and then I'll show you how to install these, and then we'll go on to the daily and check-ins, okay? Okay, and so I just cut out one of these so that you didn't have to watch me do that, just with scissors, and then that's gonna be able to replace this, but I'm gonna show you how you can use just one of these, and it could work for all the pages so that you don't have to rewrite the same things every month or every moon cycle, because the goal is to track similar things across a span of time. And of course, sometimes it changes for me. And that's why I give you a few options in case you do want to change it up. But how I do it is we're gonna first flip this page and we're basically gonna adhere it to the outside. Now, this will look weird at first, but it'll make sense in a second. So I'm just gonna get a piece of tape, clear tape if you can. Mine's kind of matte, but if you can get one that is clear, that's better, but whatever works. And I'm just gonna fold that over so that it basically will act as a hinge. And I didn't do that perfectly. If I wasn't on this video, you know, I can adjust that, but perfect isn't necessary. So now I can write the exact things that I want to track here and use it for this spread. But more importantly, I definitely want to have them on this side. Or no, just kidding. We want it on this side so that it can fold over. You can put it on that side too, but then it's just going to be next to these. And so for this spread, I'll have everything written here and I can reference them, and then so on and so forth. So each month, all I simply do is fold over that hinge and I have a replacement. So I'm pretty excited about that. Very simple. I might just cut off a little more here if I need, but yeah, that's basically it. So there you created a replacement flap. Okay, and then once I've done my tracking aspect of my daily journaling check-in, say it's December 30th, right before the new year when I'm doing this, I'm gonna hop over to that same date in the daily journaling spaces, and this is also exactly why we have 3 ribbon bookmarks, so it's easy to hop around. So I'll keep one here for this whole moon cycle, and then I'll go grab another one. They'll be tucked away when you first get it, and that'll mark this so that I can easily flip back and forth between the monthly and the daily. And then I'll check in here in a little more detail. I can expand on any of these symptoms or experiences that I had here, and it'll prompt me again to go through my physical, emotional, and mental, and then spiritual or habitual self-care, dream, sleep experiences here. And you can write all the way across, or you can just write in here, and this can be a free flow space. You can use this whole space for free flow. And then new this year, I added in the cyclical mindfulness prompts with the elements. And you can read about how to use that in the front of the journal. And if you're in the Cyclical Mindfulness Mini self-paced course, this will be even more useful for you. But I bring you into the basics just to be able to use it at a glance in the front. And then that's the daily journaling space. And of course, also transferring over the cycle day number, your menstrual cycle, if that's what you're tracking, or the moon cycle number day 1 here. And then you check in with your weather. That can be inner, outer weather, that's up to you. You could also do both, like circling your inner weather or mood, emotional experience, and the outer weather you could put a square around. So that just gives you more reference points to track. And then the phase or season, again, inner or outer. Menstrual phase would be winter, and say it's summer in the real world. So that just gives you more reference points. And then, yeah, these are just the little prompts to do all that. I kind of went backwards here, but ultimately you would start up here, fill those in, take a deep breath to just center yourself into the space and get out of your head if you like. And then the monthly tracking, you could start here and that prompts you to go back there, or you could start up here and go back. It really doesn't matter, but that just prompts me to remember to do that too. And then I always like to just take a moment to think about what I'm grateful for, because sometimes this can bring up a lot of emotions or frustrations, and that's totally normal and valid. But this just reminds us to also consider what we're grateful for in our life. And of course, just the psychological act of celebrating ourselves, even just like, a little pat on the back, like just thanking yourself for showing up, like helps seal this together as like, oh, like this is something that I want to show up for. And it'll be different every day, but just honoring that this takes time and effort, even if, you could spend a minute on this, you can spend 10 minutes more, but yeah, just honoring yourself for that. And then generally once a week, it's going to prompt you on every new, quarter, and full moon. And there'll be different prompts for each phase, as well as a little affirmation or a reminder of the energy of this lunar transit. And that's just a little extra space to go deeper and tune into that energy. There are also these prompts that are kind of intentionally hidden in the spine here, in case you get stuck about like, what do I write about? There's really no right or wrong, but these are just little suggestions. And I think that's everything. The moon phase, of course, I put dotted lines around the new, quarter, and full, just so that you're aware, okay, that's a checkpoint, that's a quarter lunation, and yeah, I think I went over everything. But again, you don't have to do all these things. Like leaving blank space or skipping something is not a bad thing. I want us to practice, if it's helpful, to practice letting there be blank space in our lives, in our journals. Like it's okay to have room to breathe, and we don't have to fill up every little space. It's not a test. Okay, so I'll meet you back in a sec and we'll go over this, the check-in pages. All right, and this is our third section, which I will admit I don't use every single day, but it's there for us to use at least once a moon cycle, and to drop in data as we please. So I'll visit this occasionally, but there's one of these at the end of every moon cycle. So all the monthly, the moon cycles are in the front for the tracking overview, and then the daily pages you'll go through day by day. And when you get right before the next moon cycle, the next new moon spread, you'll get to this check-in page, and I'll put my third bookmark there, like during this current moon cycle, so I can reference this. And this is essentially a space to drop in any observations, and like you can analyze like any changes, or anything that stayed consistent. And the prompts here are days to know, any cycle days that stood out, whether that be the moon cycle or your menstrual cycle. Observations, did you notice any changes or patterns? And then a place to note like what self-care practices were nourishing and helpful, because it's easy to forget those, and this can help you create like a little toolkit of remembrance. And then at the top, this reminds you of, this is the moon cycle that we just went through and are finishing up, that we're experiencing. It's the 13th one because there's 13 in a year, and this is like the final new moon of 2024. The next one will be the first of 2025. That's just there for informational reasons. You don't need to go deep into that if you don't want to. And this is last cycle day 1 for your menstrual cycle. So you can use this next planning ahead part if you have a menstrual cycle, marking the length and when it started. And if you don't have one, you can just leave that blank or use it for anything else you're tracking, like hormones or anything. And then the moon cycle phases are here for you to, I like to track the proximity of, for example, if I'm bleeding near the new moon, and you can use this for other things, again, if you don't bleed. And yeah, and then the caution days are, I like to just say those are the days that like I need space, I was maybe more irritable, to be aware of maybe not to put so much on my plate that day, or to set boundaries with loved ones. And bliss days are days I felt like amazing, and just, I don't know, I like to mark those down to see if there's any correlation to like what I did that day, what I ate that day, where I am in my cycle, and so on. So again, all suggestions and invitation prompts. And then this side is, it just prompts you to plan ahead a little, and for your next moon cycle, just anything you might want to remember, like chest or breast exams, rest days, dates with yourself. And again, if you have a menstrual cycle, you can plan these around those days that you notice. And if you don't have a menstrual cycle, it's still just as important for you to have slower days and rest days and check-ins. So just, you know, you can do those around the moon cycle or whatever phases and patterns you're tracking through, or just whenever, you know, this is just there for you. And then if you're tracking your menstrual cycle, this is like when I like to write, okay, if my cycle has been about 29 days and this is the day it started, then I'll go ahead in the pages and I will, I'll count ahead. Okay, 29 days, I'll count to that. And I'll usually put a little star on that day here and on the monthly page just to remember. I'll also, honestly, I put things in my Google Calendar too, so feel free to put it in other planners and calendars. But then I will always also write it here so then I can use that for reference. And then this is now a blank space because I feel why not have more room to do what we want. And in a sec, I'm going to show us these special templates I gave us to put here if we want, or we can just use it for whatever. But just to finish going over, there will also be an offering from one of our featured community members each moon cycle, and all different, you know, from educational pieces to rituals to, yeah, just helpful tidbits. Take it or leave it, always. And then this is just another extra space for if you want to set goals or intentions throughout the moon, the quarter phases, or if you just want to keep track of anything, like there's suggestions here on how to use that, but of course all optional and however you want. The journal is a balance of structured but customizable, and so I invite you to play around, experiment, see what works for you. Okay, almost done. Last exciting thing, this is new. I've had recommendations for and requests for things like, you know, a BBT, fertility tracking chart, and like a full calendar in here, habit trackers and dream trackers. And so in order to honor like how we want this to, a lot of us want this to be an all-in-one space, but I can't always include everything, especially, yeah, I want to make them available for people who want them, but the journal's already over 300 pages, so I really just couldn't add more. And so to give us options, when you scan this QR code, it brings you to our free healing library. Just put your email in, and then it brings you to a whole page of free resources, meditations, worksheets, so on. But these add-ons, templates are there, and you can print them at home or at your local library. Remember, those exist. And a lot of them have color printers for just like 25 cents or something. Usually it's cheaper and easier than like going to Staples for me, but do whatever you need. And yeah, I formatted these specifically so you could cut them out and fit them in this space. And when you cut it out, you can just paste it in there with glue or tape. And there's little instructions for each of them on how to use it, and, you know, resources for some of them. So I'm not going to do that right now because it's just as simple as cutting and pasting, and you got this. But this is for fertility tracking. There's also a full size one of these of like, this is too small, but it's doable, you know, because you're just putting a dot or so on. But I also made a full page version for anyone to use, and you can always, like, again, tape something onto the side here and then fold it, and it could be an extension. You know, get innovative. So that's an option too if you want like a full page one, or put this, honestly, put it in your undated notebook, put it in your planner. Like, I'm happy for you to just use these, and I just wanted to make a cute version. And then, yeah, there's the habit or challenge tracker, like if you're setting a goal or something, you want to track it throughout a moon cycle. There's that. This is for tracking dream themes. You know, those recurring dreams, trying to figure out what they mean, maybe when they happen. I know mine are always intense around the full moon, so here's a spot for that. And last but not least, and who knows, maybe there'll be future additions in the time, but this one is a calendar, so that if you want, like, you know, your traditional planning space, Gregorian calendar, this one prompts you the days of the week. I just made it evergreen, so you can just put the days of the month there. You have them in here or elsewhere. And then I also added, just for fun, you know, the planetary associations with each day of the week, because I love paying attention to that. So that was a lot, and yeah, basically that structure repeats throughout for consistency, because you're always changing, but the moon is your anchor. And then in the back there's some extras. Don't forget to check out our healing resource directory with amazing folks who support the making of this independent publication possible and who have more to offer if you need support in any way. Please keep in touch, take care of yourself. I hope you enjoy your cycles journal, and yeah, be well. Thank you.